professional sports is slowly trying to get back to what they were doing before, hopefully finish off the season this year. Leagues across the country are sort of playing with different ideas. So we're going to talk about what we may be seeing. We're joined now by JB. He is at his home in Maryland for Tuesday Morning Quarterback. So JB, Vlad, was it Korea, or we saw like some place that had a professional game going on, and then they have these mannequins in the stands instead of actual people? I wonder what it's going to look like here. JB, the NBA, they were really the first league to just call it quits once the coronavirus shutdown began. Now they're hoping to start things back up again, maybe finish off the season. What are you hearing from the NBA? What's that going to look like?
Well, every sports league, as you well know, is attempting to come back in some shape, form, or fashion. The NBA right now, they're seriously discussing taking advantage of a venue down in Orlando, the ESPN Wide World of Sports, if you will. Their sports world down there would be a perfect setting because of the multiple basketball venues that they have, often hosting college basketball and some other major events there. So this could work on that sprawling complex they have there, which of course has hotel accommodations, multiple basketball courts, training facilities. It would be ideal. So that makes a lot of sense. But right now, there's still some other questions to be answered, specifically with respect to even players, given the great shape that they're in, certainly coaches and staff, those who may have underlying medical conditions. They want to make certain that there's a complete comfort level from the medical authorities that this will be a safe bubble, if you will, to host a truncated NBA season. There are other particulars to be worked out since 80% of the season was almost over, whether or not they go right to the playoffs or have some semblance of games so that the guys can get back in shape to at least put on some competitive play, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, JB, staying with the NBA, the league lost one of its greatest coaches last week, Jerry Sloan. Tell us about what he meant to the game.
You know, Vlad and Anne-Marie, he was a gifted player. He was one of the guys, while he was a good all-around player when he was at college, in college playing at Evansville, he really was a defensive specialist. And he took that to heart and was one of the most tenacious players in the game. A two-time, all-NBA player, but he really made his mark as a coach. He coached for 3 years with the Chicago Bulls, but his stamp was really made as the head coach for 23 seasons with the Utah Jazz. He took them to 15 consecutive playoffs, was a player's coach, tough nose, knew his business, but he had the likes of John Stockton and Karl Malone, two Hall of Famers, who mastered the pick and roll without getting too esoteric. But he was beloved because of his love of the game, his respect for the game, and we're going to miss him. And I got to watch him, and he was one of my favorites when I was coming up watching him play, Vlad.
I can only
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Vlad.
sorry, Emery, yeah. No, I was going to say, I totally feel what JB was saying, yeah.
You have an announcement to make for us, JB. Some great sports journalists coming our way on CBS soon. What can you tell us about that?
Well, certainly you and Vlad know this all too well, being the consummate journalist that you guys are, seemingly 24 hours a day on the air. So I marvel at your stamina. But we have an archive of some great sports stories from the program that used to be on the air called 60 Minutes Sports, and of course for 60 Minutes. So this will be entitled 60 Minutes Sports, Timeless Stories, showing stories from around the world. As a matter of fact, my producer, Alvin Patrick, and I got a chance to go to where he's got some roots in the tiny island of Curacao, where they turn out per capita more baseball players than any other country. Stories like that. So we got to go there, and they're not a typical baseball island, if you will, because they're very educated people, many of them speaking 3 and 4 languages. But let's take a listen to see what's coming up the next several weekends on CBS Sports.
Are you going to do anything with this?
Oh, me? I'm one take, baby. That's all. I'm just one take.
He's probably the first person that says, well, you don't deserve to really be on the field.
He said that to you?
He is up there with nothing.
Yeah, no rope.
Nothing.
Nothing. We got to make this good for TV, don't we?
You know what 60 Minutes is?
Yeah. It's an hour, right?
It's an hour.
Well, he certainly did at least answer the question correctly, but whether it's a surfer chasing the biggest wave, a 10-story wave, or whether they're the birdmen in those wingsuits flying, we're going to have some outstanding stories coming up. 18 episodes over the next several weeks before golf returns to CBS Sports. So I trust that you'll all be turning in, and I'm extremely happy to be hosting that series as well. And as I mentioned, my colleague and my producer, Alvin Patrick, and I are blessed to have a couple of stories that'll be airing on there, including high school basketball coach recently deceased who went into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame as the first high school coach with what he did expressly at the high school level.
That sounds like some good stuff.
Indeed.
Well, sounds good. Hey, and I hope you and Vlad, as you exit from this, won't get on my case, because with the COVID-19 pandemic, we haven't been able to go out and get much. And Vlad and Anne-Marie taking my George Washington Carver hairdo, it's been everything I can to keep it really tightly compacted, because you guys would be looking at Frederick Douglass otherwise.
Off the air, you can get some tips from Vlad. He's been doing some home grooming.
Yeah, I got my. finally got
good
my
move. I'll look forward to
Oscar
that.
hair clippers.
Hey, Vlad, I'll take any grooming notes, especially if Anne-Marie recommends that.
Nice. You're looking good, JB.
Hey, thank you
right.
guys very much.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Have a great day. Okay.
All right.
You too, man.